The issue of infrastructure inequality is a problem that has not been able to be resolved by the Indonesia government. It is clear that infrastructure inequality occurs between Western Indonesia and Eastern Indonesia. In Eastern Indonesia, infrastructure development such as roads, bridges, ports, airports, and etc. is still very minimal. The ongoing imbalance in infrastructure has resulted in unbalanced economic growth between regions in Indonesia. The infrastructure imbalance that occurs has made the eastern part of Indonesia increasingly left behind, and it is difficult to catch up with the progress of infrastructure development in western Indonesia. Delayed infrastructure development can have an impact in various fields in people's lives. The most prominent inequality is the problem of access to roads and bridges that connect the mobility of the population to carry out various activities. Many roads and bridges have not been noticed by the local government for construction or repair. As a result, the distribution of goods or basic needs for the region is difficult to fulfill and does not run smoothly because it takes a long time to arrive in the area. The new problem that arises is that the price of necessities are very expensive and people find it difficult to buy them. The unequal supply of electric and clean water in remote area of Indonesia. Another impact of the delay in infrastructure development is that people find it difficult to carry out economic activity. People are reluctant to look for work in more developed area because access to more developed area is not adequate. People rarely get education because it takes hours to get to school because of this aspect. The connecting road or bridges is not adequate.
This fact makes it clear that development in eastern Indonesia has not been paid attention to by the regional and central government. Society is increasingly isolated and does not experience modernization. The government has made a large budget for infrastructure development, but in its implementation, the budget funds are not used to build infrastructure. The budget is used for personal gain with fixation liability reporting as a weapon. The local government is lazy to start development because it is too far behind. It is difficult for the supply of tools and materials to be used for construction to enter because inadequate access makes the government increasingly lazy to complete infrastructure development.
General, infrastructure can be defined as basic structure and facilities, but physical and social, such as construction, building, toll roads, and electricity supply, and the various things needed for the operation of community activities or public service. Infrastructure are all facilities needed by the community general public to support various community activities in everyday life. In other words, infrastructure is all facilities, but physical and non-physical, that are built by the government and individuals to meet the basic needs of society in various aspects of social and community life.
The process of building and developing Indonesia's infrastructure is not an easy one. The following are some of the problems of infrastructure inequality in Indonesia. 1. Lack coordination in building infrastructure. A problem that is often faced by infrastructure in Indonesia is a lack of coordination which hinders an infrastructure development process. Form of joint decision between institutions often make infrastructure development progress slower than originally planned. 2. Lack development funds. Infrastructure in Indonesia cannot run well due to the lack of funds held by the government. 3. Land acquisition constraint. The problem of land acquisition can be a factor that hinders the process of infrastructure development in the country. Land acquisition sometimes also creates social conflict in the community. 4. Lack of competence processed by infrastructure building institutions. The lack competence processed by institutions that are given the authority to carry out infrastructure development is also an obstacle in building infrastructure to its full potential. 5. Through drafting of regulation, the process of drafting development regulation is difficult because of the lengthy bureaucracy must be faced. 6. Work safety orients infrastructure development. Sometimes infrastructure development is not balanced with adequate occupational safety orients that eventually lead to work accidents that hindered the development.
The following is an example of the issues of infrastructure inequality in Indonesia. First, Riau Island is one of the largest fish-producing areas in Indonesia. The ocean is the main key to maritime potential in Riau Island. However, until 2017, under the leadership of the President Mr. Joko Widodo, there was no infrastructure development at this fish auction place. For example, there is no development of several constructive sector lines in coastal area. Natuna, which is targeted to be the one of the place for fish auction, has not yet been touched by infrastructure development. The existence of regional potential, namely a fish auction place in Riau Island, but not accommodated and the facilities repaired by the government ultimately result in the minimum income of the community and the lack of development and economic growth in the area. Based on this fact, the government has not been able to take role of empowering and building infrastructure in the archipelago.
From the existing reality, we try to analyze it using theory and discuss the theory, because it shows the importance of infrastructure development. The theory we have chosen is the theory of growth, based on the neoclassical growth theory with the character Robert Solow. Infrastructure development will increase economic growth, create jobs, and reduce poverty. Infrastructure development will reduce logistic costs, thereby increasing the competitiveness of goods and service produced and exported by the region. Commodities that do not have a comparative advantage to produce in the region will be imported from other regions. Throughout this process, specialization in each region will occur, which in turn will encourage interregional trade or trade between regions in Indonesia.
The neoclassical growth theory also states that infrastructure development can attract investment, which can be used to increase capital stock in the area where the infrastructure is built, thereby encouraging the development of sector in the region.
After understanding this theory, we found a solution to address the issue of infrastructure inequality in Indonesia, namely 1. Improve cooperation between institutions. Good cooperation between governance agents is needed in the process of building and maintaining infrastructure in Indonesia. Each institution must be able to carry out its respective roles so that infrastructure development is not hampered. 2. Planning infrastructure development carefully. Its government agency authorities in infrastructure development must coordinate and discuss planning for infrastructure development carefully. Good planning is not only about technical problems, but also about financing the infrastructure. 3. Inviting community involvement. The infrastructure development plan must be well communicated to the community can be actively involved in it. This will also raise the aspirations of the community that can facilitate infrastructure development in Indonesia.
Improving the Indonesian bureaucracy. Improving the government bureaucracy is something that must be done to support infrastructure development in Indonesia. Policies from related institutions are needed to prioritize projects that can make the required bureaucracy run more efficiently. maintain existing infrastructure. The existing infrastructure must be properly maintained so that it can be used for the public interest longer and at the same time it can save state expenditures.